Hello.
Yes, Remy Gao said he can hear us. Okay.
Oh.
He said he can't hear us. He said thanks for streaming. I would like to take over, okay?
Let's just make sure I get my
Okay, yeah, we have photos.
Can you invite me back?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I like coffee. Yeah. I think the one who can
You want to start? I know you want to wait for the moment. No. Officially. We'll give people a little time to get them. Okay, why is there so much of an echo? I think not on this one.
We'll do that here. That's an exit because of this. All right. Oh. It said like, oh, yeah, I should be there as well. We should come to like, maybe we should just be here. Oh, it's open people. No, yeah, but we got that our direction arrows. Oh, yeah, I don't think we can do that.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll give it a little time, no rush. Pretty warm. Pretty hot, right? Yeah. Wait,
this morning was so fun. I had breakfast before first session, so are you working out? So happy to sun outside. Yeah, yeah.
It was a little bit more than when I first married that lag.
Yeah.
Overall, you for the online crowd. Yeah.
All set. Just waiting for
more people. Chat with the sick. It's good. Yeah.
I'm actually really curious to what you have to say. So.
Hello. So I worked at Carnegie Mellon University, which uses Figshare for their repository. And so I knew the Figshare team quite well. And then they had a contract with NIH to do a pilot repository for NIH funded work. And they needed someone to manage that, curate the data and such. So jumped over at that point. And then this project, right. This project is sort of the follow-on to that one. Why are my slides not showing up? Oh, should the slides be showing up there? Yeah.
Oh, is it seen online?
Seen online?
Okay. Maybe. Okay. Once you start sharing, I think that will be the one that is perfect.
Yes.
Because you guys
yeah. That's doing it. Yeah. All right. Let's dive in. People can catch up. Okay. Adam, should I insist you move to the other side of the room?
I like how you phrase this question.
I'm gonna make a demand. Oh, it's very loud. I'm a loud talker to begin with, so this is exciting. All right. Well, thanks for coming, and please spread the word about this later as well. I'm happy for feedback offline as well from your friends. Great. Okay. So first, brief stage setting of what I am talking about when I'm talking about a generalist repository. We've heard a lot about repositories and many different research outputs here. So we'll set that stage. I'll tell you a little bit about this NIH Gray program. I will show some examples of research in these different repositories, and then we can just have a chat. I have a Menti poll. We can use it, we can not use it. Either way, this is recorded, so I can easily capture your comments later to report back on. So that's the Menti poll. That'll be on the slide again later, or snap it now. If we use it, we may not. And then this is a survey, so it dives a little bit deeper into asking how you use these repositories, when, what you share in them, and what we can do. And I'll leave this open for a number of weeks through July 21st. So I posted it on Twitter. A couple people have filled it out, and I'll repost in the Mattermost again as well. So anyone's welcome to do that, whether they're here today or not. Why am I here? Great question. Why have I come to OHBM to talk about this? And why am I in the OSR? So part of the Gray program that I will outline in the objectives and the introduction to it is to meet the needs of disciplinary research communities with these generalist repositories as one of the many data sharing resources available to researchers. And we have done quite a bit of community engagement, and we have talked to a lot of librarians and data librarians, and we've talked to people at NIH, but it's been a little hard to talk to researchers. We've tried doing a focus group. Researchers are very busy. This isn't an immediate need. And so I volunteered as someone who used to be involved in this community to come back and talk to researchers directly about these needs for generalist repositories. And yeah, because in the gray group, you know, all of these repositories were saying, oh, does anyone know of any scientific conference where people actually talk about open data or open science? Like, does that happen? And I was like, yes, I have one for you. I have been, and I will go. Yeah, come in. And of course, we know neuroimaging researchers are top users of these generalist repositories, in addition to many other resources. And also you have leading open science practices, mature data management practices, partly due to the complexity of the protocols and processing involved in analyzing neuroimaging, collecting and analyzing neuroimaging data. You've established community best practices. You have very big data, many different types of data. So great use case and examples to look at. Okay. Now for my brief and simplistic schema. This is my simplified research repository ecosystem. So you have the domain-specific repositories. My apologies if I have forgotten your favorite discipline-specific repository in this list, but things like OpenNeuro or CONP or NeuroVault or NIMH Data Archive, right? These are all repositories that take specific kinds of data or specific subject area, specific methodology. The benefit of this is that they can be very specific in their requirements, how the data must be formatted, file naming schema, the metadata that describes it. This is great for discoverability, great for reuse. It is sometimes limiting, however, if not all data fits in there, or if you have other materials that support your research that are not accepted by this repository. So truly great. They should be used, and please do keep using them. But we recognize that there are other parts of the data and research sharing landscape that are captured by other more flexible repositories in addition, including institutional repositories, which you may have as a resource from your institution, or generalist repositories like we'll talk about today, which accept data of any type from anyone in any field around the world. In lists of repositories like this one maintained by Re3 Data, you have thousands of repositories around the world. You can search for discipline-specific ones. NIH maintains a list, so obviously I'm coming at this from a US-based NIH-focused angle here because of our program sponsor, but these repositories all work globally. So NIH has a new data management and sharing plan that went into effect in January of 2023 that requires data management and sharing plans to be submitted as part of all research that generates data. And these plans are aiming to maximize data sharing. So this new NIH data sharing website has a lot of resources, including this list of repositories. And it specifically calls out generalist repositories as another type of resource available. So they encourage the use of domain-specific repositories whenever those are available, for the obvious reasons that they make the data more discoverable and reusable to that specific research community, but recognize the importance of generalist repositories for accepting a wide variety of research outputs. And these are the majority of repositories involved in gray. Oh, this was our Menti poll. Okay. So yeah, let's do it, because then Remy can participate too. Do we have anyone else online? Not sure. All right.
The audience. So it's you, the audience.
Hold on. Okay. Do you see the right question? Have you used a discipline-specific repository? Okay. Yes. Which one? See the word cloud in action. Are you seeing a different question? OSF. I've heard a lot of shout outs to OSF at this meeting, actually. Love a fig share. All right. Well, you can also just tell me. What's your favorite discipline-specific repository? Okay. Love it. There's an open neuro. All right. Shout out to Russ. Okay. Have you shared data or research materials in a generalist repository? Yeah. So which generalist repository have you used? Well, this basically captured what you just said before, but now we can have a bar chart of it. How many of these 7 different generalist repositories participating in this program have been used by the people in this room? Oh, there we go. Love it. What are the others? Yes. They have an institutional membership model as well. So some institutions have a kind of branded OSF portal, but it doesn't really change the functionality much. Okay, cool. I love this. What did you share when you used a generalist repository? This is very small, but I think the options are dataset, code, images, workflows, tools, resources, practices, pre-registrations, which came up a lot. Yes, was it yesterday? Papers, posters. The flexibility is endless. I like the color scheme of Menti too. All right. Great. Okay, so a little bit of everything, but data too, and software. Very OHBME. There we go. Oh, there's some more. Standards. All right. I think it's the last one for now. Have you ever shared data or materials from the same research project or publication in multiple repositories? Oh, because it doesn't show the rest? Oh, failure of Menti on mobile. Okay. Oh, I forgot the no. 5 yes, and they're all, yeah. It was whether it was multiple discipline specific, generalist. I don't know. I will show an example of some places where, I've seen examples of data sets shared in both Open Neuro and in Figshare, right? And so maybe it's different formats of the data for different audiences. So sort of a use case we'll touch on. Oh, there was one more for this section. Why did you choose a generalist repository? When you used it, was it because a discipline-specific one did not exist? Was it the easiest? Did it have some better functionality, like accepting larger files? Was it just faster? Did you not know what repository to use? Ease of use. Okay, lab standard, yeah. What all the cool kids are doing. Oh, integrations, yeah. Cool, okay. Thanks. All right, I'm jumping back to my slides. Okay, so I've been mentioning this acronym, the Generalist Repository Ecosystem Initiative, also called GRAY. What is it? So it's a program sponsored by NIH Office of Data Science Strategy, and it started in February of 2022, so a little over 2 years ago. We're about halfway through the program in its current iteration, and the idea of GRAY is to recognize the importance of generalist repositories as part of the larger NIH data repository landscape. And rather than creating a new flexible repository for NIH-funded data, to invest in the repositories that already exist. And for us to come together, collaborate, and then update our functionality to make NIH research in our repositories easier to share, more discoverable, more reusable. And yeah. It's full screen on my computer. I think it's on the other computer. Yeah, try that. I mean, I'm very interested in what Remy might say in the chat, but other than that. So yeah, right. Someone else check. So these are the 7 repositories that are participating. The Harvard Dataverse Project, Dryad, Figshare, Center for Open Sciences, Open Science Framework, Mendeley Data, Vivly, which you may or may not be familiar with. They largely do clinical trials data and controlled access, and Zenodo. And one of our way of working, you'll see this circle. Oh yeah, there we go. That does work. About co-opetition. So this is sort of what informs our way of working. So in some ways we are competitors with each other, right? Oh, we want the market share, who has the most data sets. But we also want to cooperate. And the idea is to have common functionality that we all do the same way, that makes our repositories more interoperable and easier to use. And so that then informs some of the other objectives here. So we want to catalog our use cases. We want to have common metadata across repositories, consistent metrics, and then also do training and outreach and figure out what our stakeholders need from us. Yeah. I mean, you can just see how many DOIs each repository has minted, or right. Yeah. That's not part of, yeah, we're not I mean, I do sometimes look at citations in the literature of DOIs across some of these repositories, and I'll tell you that Zenodo is far and away the largest. By DOIs occurring in the scholarly literature, like 5 times Dryad and Figshare, which are next. Yeah, just very popular. Yeah. Right. Usually I look at just kind of 5 of those repositories over the past 10 years or so, and because they're all pretty new, right? Most of these repositories only existed 10, 12, 15. I think actually Zenodo maybe just turned 10. So yeah, over the past 10 years. And so you go from, 1,000 data sets a year to something, I don't know. Figshare has 8 million research objects in Figshare. I don't know if I've pulled the OSF DOIs. It's a good question. I want to say it was lower, but I didn't put that chart in this today because we're not trying to compete. We're coopetating. Yeah. My computer has learned the word coopetition, for better or for worse. Okay, so I won't belabor the work we're doing, but to showcase it briefly so you have a sense of what you're giving feedback on prioritizing here, right? So we've started by looking at what use cases do we serve. For researchers, certainly sharing data is top, but also for finding data. We want to make that easier and better. Research institutions and funders want to be able to find that data, see that it's affiliated with an institution or with a funding source. And then we're also thinking about institutions that want to capture that data or use our infrastructure for their own repositories. In terms of some of our training and outreach work, we've been trying to put together materials to help researchers, once they know they're going to use a generalist repository, pick the right one. Because while we have a lot of commonalities, there are things that are different. You know, so Dryad only takes data sets, nothing else. They don't take code or posters. Zenodo and Figshare are more flexible. What are the file limits or the storage sizes? What licenses are offered? Again, Dryad is CC0. Figshare and Zenodo, more license options, OSF as well, right? Dryad offers curation. I don't know why Dryad is always the difference here, but anyway, there's a number of things. So these are just an example of some of that resource, and we're currently working on a version 4 of this right now. This flowchart is similarly available on Zenodo and outlines sort of which repository you might select in a specific case. In terms of consistent metadata, all of these repositories use DataCite to mint our DOIs. Has anyone ever heard of DataCite? Yeah, so many a DOI, especially those that are not for publications, but that are for data or software or other materials, are minted by this international nonprofit called DataCite. It is, I want to say, grant funded? Yeah. It's definitely global, and actually I should rephrase that. It may have started as grant funded and they now have a membership model. Hold on, I've said that wrong. Yep. So Figshare, we pay to use it. Clients can use it. Other clients will get their own DataCite membership. The pricing is different for academic institutions versus publishers, commercial organizations, things like that. NIH has a DataCite consortium, and the different ICs within it can control then their own DOIs. Yeah. So they sort of set the standards for what metadata is required for a DOI to be minted, and then you can go to something called DataCite Commons, and you can search that, and they're working on a number of kind of global standards. So because we all use DataCite already, we don't want to reinvent the wheel more than we need to ever in this program. And so DataCite actually is a sub-award of Gray as well. And so we get to work with that team directly. And so we've basically just taken their metadata schema and then picked fields that we want to say every Gray repository should have these fields, and they should have them in this way. They are, of course, very general and basic fields because these are generalist repositories and we cannot be too specific. Although that's an interesting question. Should we have optional discipline-specific metadata? OSF and Dryad are doing that, where you can kind of pick a discipline-specific template from a program out of Stanford called CEDAR, and you can apply that. I think it just creates it as a README file at the moment, but you could make that searchable. So that gives you a sense of where we are, but having standardized ways that we list funding, having authors with an ORCID is important. Have you heard of ROR? This is another persistent identifier. It's the Research Organization Registry, and it is a controlled vocabulary and identifier for research institutions as well as for funders. So it helps to control that. So you can say, instead of you're at UT or University of Toronto or Toronto, it's just a controlled way that we can all map to the same thing and make that searchable. Data citation best practices, metrics, having common metrics so that when you look at a view, a download, a citation in any one of these repositories, it means the same thing. Something else we're working on, partly through a collaboration called Make Data Count, which we were all already a part of in implementing their common standards. But now we've put out this white paper about how every repository should collect and store citations and provide a citation template. And so I'm showing these examples from Figshare just because I'm most familiar, but what we do at Gray is try to come up with these standards as a group collaboratively, and then each repository goes back to their product team and implements it over the next 1 or 2 years, fitting it into their roadmap. So here's just a couple of examples of things we've done at Figshare. We added a way to upload entire folders and preserve file hierarchy within them, rather than having to, for example, upload a zip file if you wanted to do that. This is really important for things like neuroimaging data, where you have complex hierarchical data and you do not want it all on one level. We've updated some of our search functionality, adding new facets for funder and publication year and organization, and we're going to be doing these with that ROR list, that ROR identifier for funders and organizations. And we've made some updates to our metadata for specifying materials that are related. So for a publication that's related to this data set, rather than just putting the URL and saying, yeah, these two things are related somehow, we added a data site standard relationship type that you can select and say, this data set is a supplement to this paper. It's honestly a little confusing in the UX right now because it's a really long list of relationship types that you get to pick from. And we're continuing to iterate on our metadata over the next year. And I think Gray is going to come up with a standard to make that more user-friendly. Oh, and this is just more on ROR. But anyway, you can see there's the ROR in action in some data site metadata. When you pull the JSON for this, you see there's a ROR identifier for NIAID, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, the ROR funder. So we've done a lot of training and outreach, and this was just my slide to say, but we wish we could talk to researchers more. And partnering with organizations is one way we're doing that. I wanted to specifically mention we're working with FASAB, which is the Federation of American Sciences for Experimental Biology, and partnering with NIH on a prize they do each summer where you can submit to talk about how you've reused a data set. And so this year, that prize is going to focus on data sets in generalist repositories and their reuse, and you can win lots of money, some money. So, okay, my last slide on Gray here, or next to last, was just about what are the hopes for the larger implications of this program. And one thing that's perhaps relevant is that we're hoping that these common standards will translate across that broader repository landscape, and that we can have a continuous dialogue with the discipline-specific repositories as well. We can learn from them about how they make their data maximally reusable. They can learn from us about how we make it most discoverable, perhaps, or trackable using these persistent identifiers and things like that. And then also just generally promoting a culture of data sharing. I think the neuroimaging community seems to pretty much be over that hump. That data should be made open. You should list, data in your publication and make it available whenever possible. Should maybe, right? And did you include a DOI? Is that trackable? Did you include all the authors in it, or did you just put yourself as an author of the data set? I curate the data sets for one of our repositories, and you get a lot of data sets called data set. So there could still be best practices, I'm sure. So trying to make this a culture of sharing and a part of the scientific practice that is valued and rewarded. Anyway. Any questions about this program? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funded by NIH, but everything that we're doing applies to our repositories globally. So yeah, you get the benefit of NIH funding this work, but we're trying to adhere to global standards and global best practices. So, I think some of the use cases are sometimes a little NIH focused. For example, how you add funding and track that is a little bit focused on just how NIH grants are written with their identifiers. But beyond that, the functionality and things like that, really quite global. Yeah. And yeah. Anyway, everything we publish is, all of our outputs are in the Zenodo community, so you can follow along there, and we have a blog. and things like that. So I just wanted to link to that for the slides. I pulled a few examples of the different repositories, and I'll just click through them briefly before our discussion here, just to show you a glimpse of some of these repositories if you have not seen them before. So this is Figshare, and apologies to anyone whose data I pulled without your permission. It is all cited. I tried to give a few people who I know are at this conference a heads up about it. So this is actually our Figshare Plus repository, which I pick because I know the data sets have higher quality metadata describing them, useful titles and links to publications that you can see here with that relationship type is supplement 2. This is a repository that is still available to any researcher globally to use, but it's for larger data sets. So figshare.com has a 20 gigabyte limit per data set. And we were getting increasing requests to share larger data sets, which makes sense. And we always wanted to say yes to those, but we needed to do it in a way that was sustainable for us because there is a true cost to storing them on the cloud and letting anyone everywhere download them at any time. So there's a one-time data publishing cost to this. And then myself and another person on my team also review the metadata and try to do some curation for them. So I have a nice glimpse into them. Anyway, here's some MRI and EEG studies on human visual object recognition. And you can see, previewable, accessible, hopefully well described. I told Ariel I was going to show his author profile on Figshare here. You can see there's an ORCID integration, which is nice. Yeah. Oh, from Remy. Citation files. Yeah, a lot of us do have a citation file, a DataCite file, but more generic. BIDS officially support citation.cff, but not DataCite files yet. Interesting. Okay, I know that their DOI practices have been evolving, and I can't speak to it exactly. I'd have to look into a little bit more exactly which citation files we have. A lot of the generalist repositories do have an option to download citation files in a number of formats, but that's good to know about a standard practice. Oh, nice. So author, like contributor role. Yeah. Does that use the credit taxonomy? Remy, let us know. That's actually on our roadmap for gray work this year is author roles. So that's good to know. Look how useful this is. Thank you, yeah. Otherwise, the online participant will not know.
We'll hear each other, but otherwise they won't hear us.
Thanks.
Are you there, Remy?
So why did I
I'm watching your chat.
I pulled this also because the usage metrics are great. There's 5.3 million downloads and 3 citations of his 35 items published on Figshare. It's also, you could say, well, it's really impressive at so many downloads, or you could say, wow, metrics are really weird and problematic because that's probably API polls that are being done, and that's why downloads often appear higher than views, which is really confusing to a user because how could it have been downloaded without being viewed via API? So that's all of Ariel's education training at work there using Figshare materials.
Oh, Remy's correcting me. Citation CFF does not yet support roles. I think that Nell is supporting it on Open Neural already, but it's going to be in a coming release.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And do you know if it uses the credit taxonomy, Remy?
Yeah. Great. Keep us posted. Yeah. Anyway, Ariel's got some data sets, but also posters and slides, right? So the whole gamut. Oh, and here's a fun Jupyter notebook that you can preview in the browser. And this is another data set. This is NIMH Intramural and Max Planck. Oh, there we go. And this is a collection of actually 12 different data sets that were published on Figshare. But you can see they've also linked to some other references, including a GitHub and an eLife publication. And this is a multimodal data set, so it has fMRI, MEG, and behavioral data. And I like their data availability statement because it actually points to materials in a few different repositories. So this is an example of that multiple repository use case of using OpenNeuro for raw MRI and raw MEG data sets in BIDS format, but then putting another version of data on Figshare Plus, putting some materials in OSF, and also using a GitHub repository as well. So you can mix and match. Yeah, so that takes us to OSF. What was I pulling here? I mean, OSF is a little bit different, and you'll know this if any of you have used it, in that it offers that sort of full workflow data management, right? So it's a repository, but it's got a little bit different functionality in that way. You can link to files that are stored in OSF or stored elsewhere. Also one of the few Generalist repositories that focuses on pre-registrations and registrations. So if that's an important part of your project, it's nice to have them all in one place. And I know psychology is a big user of OSF, but I've been surprised to hear the number of OSF mentions here this week. So really interesting to know. And then, oh, here's another example where they have the data in OpenNeuro, in BIDS, a GitHub, and then this is a kind of old at this point OHBM poster in Figshare, but I liked that it had the spinning brain video. So there you go. This is the Harvard Dataverse. It's called Harvard Dataverse, but it's actually open to everyone. So Dataverse is an open source software platform, and some institutions use it to run an institutional repository. But there's also a Harvard Dataverse that's free for anyone to use. So I pulled a MRI data set from there. Here's Vivly, which is a little bit different, although I've seen some clinical data here at the meeting. So Vivly focuses on clinical trials data and all controlled access. So they manage a data use agreement workflow for researchers, and there is a curation and upload fee for this. But important for that, as open as possible, as closed as necessary debate for some types of data. So another resource, and good to have it be interoperable with this whole ecosystem. Dryad is another repository. They have a lot of publisher integrations, which may be one place you would run into it. I highlighted this data set because they had some nice related works. So you can see they point to both a peer-reviewed article and a bioRxiv preprint. They've got 3 citations of this work, which I think 2 of them are self-citations. They're probably the paper and the preprint. And then one that may be reuse. And then they also link to some software. So there is a Dryad and Zenodo partnership for sharing data in Dryad, and then the related software in Zenodo. And so this is that software that's linked, so you can see it's in the Dryad part of Zenodo. So here's that database and the files and the citations of that pointing. This is the source pointing back to that data set. I pulled a few other things. The number of neuroimaging materials on Zenodo was really vast. So I pulled this example for NiPi and NiPi because it was linked to a GitHub. So Figshare and Zenodo both have GitHub integrations. GitHub is an amazing tool for version control, for collaboration. It's not the best repository because it's a little shifty. It's good to put a license and good metadata in your GitHub, but the idea of taking a snapshot of that GitHub repo and putting it in a trusted repository like Zenodo or Figshare is a good best practice, so that you can have that citable version and that version of record, and you can push that as snapshot as many times as you want because those DOIs through DataCite are version controlled. And so that's nice, and you can see we're up to many versions here. Version 1.83. Anyway, there were so many examples in Zenodo, I became overwhelmed, and there you go. So that's your little tour. Any thoughts or questions right now, or should we Mentimeter it again? Okay. Oh, do we need does anyone else need the QR code? We had a couple people join us, so we'll do a poll activity. You could just shout things out, but this way I can remember what you said. Microsoft. Yeah. Yeah. And we thought about working directly with them as part of Gray as well. And in fact, we may in the future. All right. We're going to get a little more free responsey here. What's your perception of the role of generalist repositories in supporting open science in neuroimaging? You have a wealth of tools and resources, but where do these resources fall in that landscape for you? Can't remember if it's a word cloud or just how they're going to pop up. Utopia. Someone who was at the morning session. Useful, necessary. Flexible. Like useful. You can also shout things out. Ooh, confusing. Okay. I was going to say easy, but apparently it's the opposite. Should make them easier to use. Too easy, too simple. Yeah. That could be the downside. Okay. Yeah, pros and cons. I think that's true. The edge cases. Does that mean sharing those materials that can't fit somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah. The important scraps of science.
There's still neuroimaging that doesn't have. It can't be easily detected.
Yeah, right. There's the limitations. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, go for it. You can start this next. You can start this new easy to challenging. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good thing to think about in our guidance for researchers, and something we maybe gloss over a little in the US because the GDPR is not as applicable. We can be a little looser with it. But people do have restrictions for how the data is funded and such too, that it needs to remain in the country. Yeah, I mean, it all depends where the servers are, right? So it's going to be a little different for each repository. I don't know, Zenodo, like, does it go through a CERN server? Maybe that's why Zenodo is so popular. It stays in Switzerland. I'd have to ask the team. With Figshare, it goes to Ireland if you're using figshare.com. Yeah, I mean, I work with our US federal clients at Figshare, so, US-based government agencies, and we will, for those custom repositories, use US-based storage. And so then, that fits that use case, but the public repositories are going to be the default servers and usually AWS. But yeah, okay. How usable are these repositories? Sharing data, sharing materials other than data, high quality data, searching. Yes, I would agree. Challenging to search. The problem is the searching relies on the high quality metadata, right? So, somewhat. We can make the search better.
I don't think it's.
Yeah.
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 Like I think machine learning people search for data. I think most scientists read the paper and say, "Oh, I'm never get the data."
So you're just following the DOI that was in the paper.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good to
There
know.
are people that comb open neuro and bring all the T1.
Right. Right. Yeah. They're hard to search right now. If we made them more searchable, would that be a more important use case?
I think there's better things you can do.
Good. Okay. Low priority. Yeah. You know, we're like, oh, where's a data set on the hippocampus? Let me go look. Yeah. Yeah. Data set search. Yeah. Yeah.
He'll be at the thing tomorrow, but he's not a good one.
Yeah. 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 And the data sets of these gray repositories are in Google Dataset Search, and usually marked up according to their schema for that, but it's limited. Yeah. Okay. Go on. I think I had a few more here for you. Yeah, let's prioritize some features of these repositories, if we might, please. How useful, very useful to not useful, or not useful to very useful, are these features of a generalist repository to you as a neuroimaging researcher? Flexibility to share any type of material, flexibility to share any file type. Give you a second. Nice. Okay. The DOI is a citable DOI when leading the pack. GitHub. That seems right for HBM. Flexibility.
If I had to guess why it's Zenodo, I had GitHub integration before they share. Google.
Yeah.
How do I get a DOI from my GitHub?
You got
Got
Zenodo.
a Zenodo pipeline that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they
Yeah, I'd be interesting to see the breakdown of disciplines in Zenodo. I've not looked at that, but yeah, probably maybe data science heavy. Okay, thank you. This is helpful. Okay, I think we had a few free response ones here. So when someone is using a generalist repository, is there a best practice, or is there a feature, I guess you could say GitHub here, that's the most important to make the materials in these repositories discoverable and reusable? Like, what would you tell someone to do? You can't edit the Menti. Right? So linking to a publication? Yeah. You have the chicken and the, right. So if you share something in a generalist repository, do you share it before the paper comes out or at the same time? How do you get the publication DOI into the data? Yeah. So then you have the data set DOI to put in the manuscript. Yeah. You can also reserve the DOIs if you didn't know that. Yeah, most repositories, when you start creating an item, drafting it, you can pre-reserve the DOI and just put it right in your manuscript then, and you will never forget to add it later when it's published.
It's up with the data.
Yes, and to click publish.
We scrape the papers and like go to the DOIs and they find empty.
Oh yeah, you do have to remember to do that. For the metadata, would you say it's important to use a discipline-specific metadata standard, or just a general one? Yeah, some description. You think a README is important? Of a data set, I guess, or code. Yeah. Okay.
So I think the versioning is really important because usually when they're uploading the data, they're just trying to get the paper out. And they're going to put up some crap. And hopefully they can come back and redo it. Like clean it up. But what I would love to see Bigshare do, so the FAIR principles, it's not 4, it's like 16. Each of those has little sub.
Yeah, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable.
What if when you were typing, like I think when a lot of people are filling in their metadata, they don't know what they're filling in.
Yeah.
They don't know what to compare it to. So if they were writing in, like you had some sort of LLM basically giving them feedback. Your metadata is as rich as 30% of the data sets that are in Figshare. Do you want to be there, or do you want to be a little?
You want to add a few? Do you want try to guilt you into it?
You could also, you know,
5 more keywords would make it better.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could also you could suggest to them things from Cedar, or you could point them to, maybe this is the template.
Yeah, the UI of the metadata. Yeah, I think the context of it is important, and that's not always appreciated. Or you're in a hurry. I get it. Okay, there were 2 more. Everything's going to pop up in a little box, and then we have 1 more word cloud for our discussion here. What could generalist repositories do differently to better support your use cases and needs? Well, LLMs for metadata suggestions. What else would be on that wish list? Easier, better. User community. User community of people that are sharing data? Can you tell me more? Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think I was so. As you said, GitHub has a lot of features, but it's not a repository.
Right.
But I see a lot of our researchers like it.
Yeah.
You could pull in a lot of those features,
like forking.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
You could say, well, the column names are wrong here. I fixed it with a pull request.
Yeah.
But I would also love to see, I think what frequently happens to me is I'll read a paper and I'll say, oh, you shared your data. And I look at the data and I go, I'm not ever going to do it.
Yeah.
Stars, just where I can just say, I'm not downloading.
Oh, rating.
Why?
A lot of public shaming.
I think, but I also think people put up their data. Actually, I just saw an author say this. He said, I wrote this huge data set with all this spreadsheets, and nobody ever commented on it.
Huh.
But he never thought, maybe.
Yeah.
He said that nobody wants data. That was his conclusion.
Yeah. Do you look at data sets when you review? Does anyone get the data set with the submitted manuscript?
I mean, I don't look deep. I definitely make sure it's there.
Right.
It's not ridiculous.
Yeah. Doesn't look really bad.
But
yeah. It's always a question with reviewing. How long can you?
Is it my task to go through all the codes, or should I just see whether it's commented yes or no?
Right.
Still, where do the reviewers' responsibilities go with that? I still not sure
Yeah.
because and it can go both ways. You skim over it and like, oh, it's fine, or you dive deep with them.
Yeah, you're gonna reproduce all the analyses. It would be.
I don't know. I kind of find hard for it where it's not hard to translate people yourself.
Yeah. Do you think it's different if you're reviewing a paper, like a data paper, like a data set paper or something that's a paper specifically about, like, we made this software tool, right? Rather than just.
You could maybe just have one, I don't know, subject or whatever.
Yeah.
Which you could run it, or depending on the survey. But a small set of data on which you can run it without taking time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Something.
They need to have it in a easily explored and computable format.
I mean, most things you can't just run to check.
Yeah.
And it just run to get
But some you can.
But then but if you only run it without checking it, yeah, you'll get hopefully at least the same result. But that doesn't mean that you checked it.
So I was thinking when we reviewed once, it was from Epcot, like it was a tool. Like we went to clone and build it, and it didn't work. I said, no, we're not going to accept your paper until the code works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea of data of these laws about data sharing, telling you where the data is going to be. I think it's a challenging legal situation to accept any responsibility for that, but we can be transparent and you can seek your own guidance. It's sort of the same problem with human subjects data, right? Like, can you put de-identified human subjects data in a generalist repository that's fully open? Yes, sure. It needs to be properly de-identified, and that's between you and your ethics committee and your yeah.
Still have some warning at this point.
Yeah.
So not maybe your responsibility.
Right.
It's like, hey, did you check for it?
Right, right. And yeah, that's a good question, because that's how we do it for Figshare Plus in terms of personally identifiable information, is to be like, are you sure that you have permission to share this data set? Are you sure that it's properly identified?
Well, and then are you local? I think, where is this?
Yeah.
And does that match your...
Right, because that's hard to figure out. So I like the idea of being more transparent about that. Yeah. Okay, one last word cloud to wrap us up. How should Gray prioritize its work to support researchers and further a culture of data sharing, or whatever else you would like us to help do in this community? And we'll take this to NIH. Should we keep engaging with researchers using our repositories? Metadata, metrics, training, resources, functionality to share, functionality to search, visibility. Visibility as in discoverability of the data set?
I've never heard of this one.
Okay.
I think the promotion is really important.
Nice.
People to use it.
Good, I love it. Visibility that these resources are available. Yeah. Usability, yes. I like that.
I mean, the trick is you want to engage your users, but you also want to engage people that didn't. Right? So
interesting, yeah.
Do this, right? Like you catch the people that are bouncing off your site and get a pop-up saying, hey, you want to do a survey? What are you leaving?
Why was this not for you? Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of firms, like, they analyze. You can figure out how many people came and then ran away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many people have created an account on these repositories but never uploaded anything?
Never downloaded anything.
Yeah.
Started stuff. Why?
Most of these repositories you don't need an account to download. Usually just on the browser. Which is bad for metrics, because then people say, who downloaded this? And you say, I don't know. But does it matter?
So you could go and find It'd be interesting to find data sets that had a lot of downloads and very few citations.
Yes.
You like download the data and you didn't use it. Why didn't you publish?
Right. It's Ariel's training data. Workshop data.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be a reasonable explanation.
They're using it at the hackathon.
Or the inverse. I mean, the stuff that's being cited very well. What did it do?
The thing that's cited a lot is software. The citation, all of the items that have the most citations, almost always software, not data, which makes sense. But they're
software. Oh, but there's a GitHub release file.
Yeah, like in Figshare, there's some item that's been cited like 500 times or something, and it's software. Right. Yeah. Anything else? Workshops on what? To get feedback, to do best trainings. Okay. Best practices. Yeah. I like that. We've been trying to do webinars. It's hard to reach researchers. Yeah. So we do also then train the trainer style trainings where we will train librarians at institutions, and then the librarians can train researchers. But that presents other challenges still to engagement, because I have also been a librarian trying to do workshops, and yeah. It's hard to get people's attention until the night before they have to upload the data. Sorry, what were you gonna say? Yes. Oh, yes. I like this idea.
Competitions or you did a pre-registration that you gave.
Yeah. Yes, I remember that pre-registration challenge, I think. Yeah.
You could also do like a hackathon, and anybody who does a preprint reusing Figshare data.
Yeah, well, that's the FASEB prize this summer. I think the prize is 25,000 maybe for reusing a data set. Yeah.
One person for how many people?
No, 10, I think. 10 prizes?
10 prizes?
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's judged on quality.
Right. Or yeah, value of reuse. I'm not sure. The metrics will be published in a few weeks when the prize is launched. But
what I liked about the OSF one is it was basically first come, first serve.
Yes, that's true.
A small amount of money to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They followed the basic rules.
Yeah, incentives. Right. Incentives are needed to change things. I mean, the incentive should be there with the data management and sharing plans, but I think we are waiting to see how those are executed. They're submitted for grants that are many years long. And then the question is, how will you track the data or the other materials that should have been shared and link them back to that data management and sharing plan? And we hope to make that easier for NIH to do, but I think it presents a pretty big challenge for them right now. I say not working at NIH, but from what I hear. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your participation. I really appreciate it. The Gray program really appreciates it. And if you would like to tell us more, please fill out our survey. It'll be open for a few weeks. Tell us more, leave us comments. It has a few more detailed questions about your favorite licenses and things like that. I hope it's not too onerous. It's mostly multiple choice. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Ready. Now to get off the crowdcast.
Hi, Remy. Go to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's morning. It's morning there now. Yeah.
Listen, Derek. Oh.
Thank you.